this moment, Brahmastra is the most watched film in the world. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Does this conclusively settle the great boycott debate? In the Brahmastra versus boycott battle, Brahmastra has clearly won. Does this tell us something much more intriguing about the film industry, which is that producers might have been hiding behind the fig leaf of boycott calls? If there's enough interest in a film, well, it seems to work at the box office, come what may. This success is despite extremely divided reviews from film critics about whether they like this particular movie or don't like it, whether they see it as a film essentially about pyrotechnics as opposed to a story. None of it seems to have mattered. Not the targeting of Ranbir Kapoor for ancient remarks on eating beef, not the targeting of Alia Bhatt for saying, if you don't like me, well, then you won't watch my films. But there are others who are still saying that the larger crisis in particularly the Hindi film industry is not over. Is this a return to the movies as we once remembered it? Technicolor, giant, big screen, metaphorically and literally? Let's introduce our panel of guests. Today, we are joined by prominent film critic Ajay Brahmatmaj. Namaskar, Ajay, great to see you. Also joining us is Tanuj Garg, well-known film producer. Great to see you, Tanuj. Akash Banerjee, who's of course a satirist with his own YouTube channel, had a very interesting comment on Brahmastra saying, if this is Bollywood's best, guys, you're in serious trouble. PKD Nambiar, who's of course a political analyst with many health warnings for the film industry. Why is that? We'll ask him. And finally, our very own Kubbra Sait, one of the few actors who doesn't pull her punches. This introduction is extremely important because actually what usually happens is most people in the film industry don't take any positions on nothing because they're scared of boycotts. Kubbra is a rare exception. And the Brahmastra debate has played out in quite an interesting way because while Ranbir Kapoor is not very voluble, Alia Bhatt is an actor who tends to say what she thinks. Kubbra, what do you make of the Brahmastra versus boycott versus box office debate? And what does it tell us about the larger relationship between the film industry and public life in India?
I think movies were once an experience, and I think that's what it should be. It brings people together. You forget everything. In fact, when I was at the PVR cinema, my cell phone was jammed. Like, you couldn't even use your phone. And I thought it was exceptional, getting everybody in together, watching a movie, and just forgetting everything behind. I think that's what I know movies to be. It was not about go watch or don't watch or do this or don't do this. And there was never an ulterior motive that was attached to watching films. And it's just really, I don't know. Just now this screen that I see where Lal Singh Chadda was also asked to be boycott. I watched both. I watched Lal Singh in the cinemas and I watched Brahmastra in the cinemas. And I don't think it was a greater experience. I mean, it was fun. There were all these incredible souls in there feeling the same thing. If we were upset about something, we were upset about it together. But if we were thrilled together. And I think that's what entertainment needs to be. That's what films were once to us. And that's what they should be for as long as we know it. I think we're getting too entangled and we're getting our panties into a twist with this whole boycott thing. I mean, if you do want to boycott something, boycott the nonsense that's happening around you. Why go out there and just spill cold water on like all the hard work and the efforts of so many wonderful people?
Is there a lesson in it though for the film industry that even if you try and be establishmentarian to the dominant narrative that you pick up on social media, I'm not even talking about party A and party B, you have some sense, Twitter creates a false sense, I think sometimes false, of what the dominant narrative is via organized hashtags. Actors and their PR managers often kowtow to them. Does Brahmastra prove that it doesn't really matter in the end?
I mean, you can love the film, you can hate the film. That's fine. But have you watched the film? That's the question.
Yeah.
You don't boycott something just because, it's trendy to do that, or you haven't even watched the film and you're just walking around like random places going like, eeks, I hate that film. You shouldn't be watching that film for whatever reason. Have you watched the film? I love how you've got Suryavanshi out there. And for me, Suryavanshi is the Amitabh Bachchan Suryavanshi, to be honest. But I think it's fantastic that, this labor of love that has taken 8 years, that actually paid people for 8 years, livelihoods on the line. It's not just the actors who are going to profit from a movie or producers. It's people, and there are lots of people, and most of them are not trained professionals. These are people who have learned on the job. These come from meager incomes, and this industry supports them. If you start slashing big films like this or small films like this because it doesn't suit your agenda, then I think you're also going to increase the disparity economically for those who are working in these films. And I think that is a much harsher truth. And I think that's just the end of creativity as we know it. And yes, it's okay. You don't like the film, it's fine. But what is this nonsense? To be honest, I heard you can buy a hashtag for 1 lakh rupees to 10 trend for an hour. I don't know if this is true, but if it is, then it's even more shameful that people have 1 lakh rupees to spend so vicariously.
Okay, Akash, you were not impressed with the movie. Kubbra saying that's fine. That's fine. You don't have to be impressed with the movie. But this jousting between in this case, right wing, tomorrow left wing could have its own cancel culture about other products. But in this case, it's very much the right wing that has gone for the film industry. There's a culture wars ongoing. And you're saying that can't be conflated with the quality of the film. I mean, I remember your tweet, if this is your best, you have to do much better. Let's bring you in, Akash.
So I'll just take Kubbra's point further, and I do not think that I'm even going to comment as a critique. Okay, you have very, very renowned people here, whether be it producers or film critics. I just have a simple point to make, Barkha. Thank God we are debating Brahmastra today based on whether people like the story, they don't like the story, they like the dialogue, they don't like the dialogue. That's how it should have always been. Not because of a particular religion, what one wants to eat, who's the political inclination. So thankfully, we are debating a movie based on whether the movie is good, bad, crap, I liked it, I didn't like it, etc., etc. My simple point with that tweet and an episode that we put out was simple. Had I not seen RRR, had I not seen the production values of some of the pan-Indian movies from South, I would have been absolutely okay with Brahmastra. My point is very simple. When you are putting the best of Bollywood in one basket, you have an Amitabh Bachchan, you have a Shah Rukh Khan, you have the latest hot couple in town in one movie. I mean, imagine in South, I have the best of actors together with the biggest of budget. RRR comes close to that. The kind of visual effect, the kind of story pace, the kind of impact RRR had, I don't see Brahmastra having. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. We said go ahead, watch it. Is your jaw going to drop open and say, wow, what amazing storytelling, what amazing dialogues, what amazing visual effects? No, it's just a bit of pyrotechnics that is happening. My grouse is that even when you've spent 400 crore rupees, I don't see the impact of that 400 crore rupees. Does it set a new benchmark? Absolutely not. My grouse is as much as that. So Bollywood better pull its socks up, because even now with its best production values, it's not being able to create a new benchmark. My issue is only that. And thank God that I don't have to, and we are not debating whether it should be boycotted and who ate what and all. So that, fortunately, I would say, Barkha, that if the movie would have been a flop, then the boycott gang would have taken credit. My point is, then why is the boycott gang not being given credit for helping the movie gain more mileage? Because people were debating it and discussing it. So the boycott gang should be given credit for that. Because if it would have flopped, the credit would have been taken.
That's a great point. The boycott gang actually doesn't understand how many heroes and stars and product publicity it actually does. But Akash, not everybody is smart enough to know that these hashtags don't actually determine your fate. Many people actually get scared. And that's when the crumbling actually starts. Tanuj, give us a sense of why, as a producer, you would be worried. You know, Akash and I are like, we're baptized by fire. We get galis every day. हमें तो फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. मुझे तो नहीं पड़ता. I don't know about Akash. I think Akash को भी नहीं पड़ता. My point is, as a producer, if your movie was being targeted, would you be scared? When I say targeted, I mean this hashtag crowd. Would you be scared?
So I'm going to be honest with you, Barkha, and say I wouldn't be entirely scared because I can speak for myself. I mean, I come from the school of thought which believes that this sort of boycott culture, cancel culture, maybe to some extent would affect the box office. I wouldn't say entirely, maybe to the extent of 5%, 10%, or 15%, debatable. But to assume that a film, hasn't performed because it was boycotted or because there were boycott trends in place, I think is quite delusional and unwise. Because I think we've already seen with Brahmastra, regardless of of what one feels about it, the audience is going to go to watch a film that they want to watch, and you can't hold the audience back. And I think that, in a sense, I think the box office performance of Brahmastra is a huge victory in that sense, to sort of reaffirm or corroborate the fact that the boycott trends don't matter beyond a point. Having said that, what I will add, though, to qualify the 10 or 15% of business loss that perhaps may have emanated, is that a lot of the unevolved sections of society, a lot of the people who are not entirely educated about how these trends operate, and about how this is actually just a well-oiled political machinery, if I may say so, that is sort of driving a certain agenda. People who don't know any better do actually get a bit intimidated by these trends, right? So I won't name the actor, but I have had an actor who's actually told me that he had exhibitors calling him and telling him that that several people were actually scared to set out of the house because because they were worried that that these Twitter trolls would possibly arrive at the theaters and possibly vandalize the theaters and destroy them. And I, in fact, even had a couple of members of the audience telling me that when they visited one particular theater, they had a couple of these alleged trolls walk up to them and ask them that, why are you buying a ticket of so and so film? I mean, what's in it for you? Why would you what? So there was some sort of covert intimidation, which is why I sort of said in the formative part of my conversation that maybe there is some box office shaving, maybe marginally, but largely, I don't think these boycott trends matter. I think the audiences, I'd like to believe, have become way more evolved and educated, than we think they have, and they're pretty much deciding for themselves. And I think the monumental numbers of Brahmastra. I think the film is going to do a lifetime business of at least 200 to 250 crores net box office collections in India. And I think
will it be profitable though? Because it's been made at a 400 crore budget, if I'm not wrong. That's what I read. So there remains a question of profitability. There remains a question of a trilogy. Will the trilogy actually follow? I don't know. I don't know. Tanuj, you want to briefly answer that? And I won't need to go to Ajay ji and PKD.
Yeah, you're right. The costs are definitely very high, Barkha. And, I think the profitability, you're right, is a question mark on the film. But having said that, I think in these times when people were quick to sound the death knell of Bollywood and, and sort of sound the death knell of the theatrical business and say, theaters are finished and it's only OTT, etc., that's here. I think the success of movies, or when I say the success, I mean the box office numbers of movies like an Ek Villain or a Jug Jug Jio, a Bhool Bhulaiya, a Brahmastra, have actually reminded all of us that there is an audience that exists. And let's not be delusional and say that the audience has sort of gone away entirely to OTT. There is an audience out there. There is a theatrical business that's there, and there is a business that's going to continue booming in a country like India, where cinema watching is a community experience.
Yeah, and I think, as Mark Twain said in another context, the reports of my death are vastly exaggerated. The film industry might be feeling that today, that it's too early to write the obituaries of what goes by the name of Bollywood. But Ajay ji, as a critic, you have to separate the noise from the quality of the movie. You have to even sometimes separate the commercial success from the quality of the movie, and that's a little bit what like what Akash did. He saw the movie, he said, let's debate the movie. Who cares what Ranbir Kapoor said about beef or not beef? Mr. Nambiar may have a different view, but Ajay ji, how do you see Brahmastra, the movie, the success, and the fight around it?
देखिए, हिंदी ऑडियंस के तौर पर और हिंदी बेल्ट से भी मैं आता हूं, इसलिए उस ऑडियंस को देखते हुए और उसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हमें देखना होगा कि हिंदी फिल्में कैसी बनती रही हैं। मार्वल की फिल्में ऑफ कोर्स हमें मिसमराइज करती हैं, या साउथ की फिल्में, जैसा आकाश कह रहे थे कि उधर से फिल्में आती वो अच्छी लगती है। लेकिन मेरा ये मानना है, एज ए क्रिटिक भी और एज ए व्यूअर भी, कि जो ब्रह्मास्त्र हमारे सामने पेश करती है वो बहुत ही अच्छा है, उम्दा किस्म का है और हाई क्वालिटी का है। और ऐसा वीएफएक्स के फील्ड में काम करने वाले कुछ टेक्नीशियन से भी मेरी बात हुई, उन्होंने भी कहा कि इसका वीएफएक्स बहुत ही इंटरनेशनल क्वालिटी का है। रही बात अयान की और किस तरीके से वो फिल्म को लेके आएंगे, मैं तो कहूंगा कि अयान बहुत स्मार्टली मूव किए हैं इस फिल्म में। उन्होंने इंडियन स्क्रिप्चर्स और इंडियन माइथोलॉजी का इस्तेमाल किया है, लेकिन कहीं भी वे उस कहानी में नहीं गए जहां डिबेट हो सकती थी, जहां वे फंस सकते थे। उन्होंने सिर्फ एक रेफरेंस लिया और उसको आज के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक फिल्म दिखाने की कोशिश की है। जैसा कि फिल्म देखते हुए हम लोगों की भी राय थी कि इसमें लव स्टोरी की ज्यादा जरूरत नहीं थी। लव स्टोरी एक हैम्पर करती है फिल्म को आगे बढ़ाने में। और रही बात इस फिल्म के आगे सीक्वल की, जो सेकेंड और थर्ड पार्ट की, मुझे पूरा भरोसा है कि वो फिल्म बनेगी, क्योंकि दीपिका को ऑलरेडी हम देख चुके हैं इस एपिसोड में रणवीर के माँ के तौर पर।
अजय जी, मैं अगर आपसे पूछूं कि इंडस्ट्री में आप क्या एक सेंटिमेंट पिकअप करते हैं? क्या डर लग रहा है लोगों को कि वन आफ्टर द अदर ब्रह्मास्त्र तक फिल्म्स वर नॉट वर्किंग एट द बॉक्स ऑफिस?
नहीं, इंडस्ट्री के अंदर ऐसा डर नहीं था जितना बाहर मीडिया में ये डर फैलाया गया था। इंडस्ट्री के लोग तो अपने काम में लगे हुए थे। आप देखो कि अभी से दिसंबर तक लगभग 10 फिल्में आ रही हैं, जो बड़ी बड़ी फिल्में हैं, उसमें बड़े स्टार्स हैं। अगर डर होता तो ये फिल्में रुक गई होती अभी तक, या उसको फिर से रिवाइज किया जा रहा होता। ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ है। जो डर है वो मीडिया में फैला हुआ था, और अभी 3 दिन पहले तक जो लोग ऑब्ituary लिख रहे थे हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री की, अब वही बातें कर रहे हैं कि ब्रह्मास्त्र के आने के बाद से एक होप आ गया है। तो हमारे यहाँ पूरी सोसाइटी की दिक्कत है। ये हम जिस कंज्यूमर सोसाइटी में रह रहे हैं, वहां पे ये प्रॉब्लम है कि जैसे ही हमारे घर परिवार समाज और देश का कोई आदमी अमीर होता है, उसकी सारी चीजें अच्छी लगने लगती हैं हमें।
Yes, nothing succeeds like success. I think
या
that's actually what
जी,
you're
तो
saying.
वो
कि
ब्रह्मास्त्र
गालियां
ने सारा डिक्टम बदल दिया है। ब्रह्मास्त्र ने सारा आपका सोचने का तरीका बदल दिया है, और यह फिल्म आगे भी ऐसा बिजनेस करेगी। आज मंडे का कलेक्शन में बहुत कुछ डिपेंड करता है कि ऑडियंस गई है कि नहीं गई है। मैंने खुद सर्च करके देखा बुक माई शो या दूसरे चैनलों के थ्रू की ये, मैं बिहार से आता हूँ, बिहार में कैसा कर रही है, छोटे शहरों में कैसा कर रही है। हर जगह ये 70-60% की भीड़ थी। उससे मुझे ये उम्मीद लगती है, और जो बातें हो रही है दोस्तों से और परिवार के लोगों से, उसमें पूरी फैमिली के साथ लोग जा रहे हैं।
Okay.
ऐसा भी इस साल किसी और फिल्म के साथ नहीं हुआ, भूल भुलैया के साथ भी नहीं हुआ। तो इंडियन ऑडियंस जिस तरीके की फिल्म देखती है और फैमिली वॉचिंग होती है, उनके लिए एक पिकनिक होती है, वो माहौल ब्रह्मास्त्र लेके आया। और इस फिल्म में ऐसा कुछ कंटेंट नहीं है जो हर उम्र के दर्शक एक साथ बैठ के ना देख सके, मतलब पूरी
Got it.
फैमिली ना देख सके।
Got it. Let
तो
me
इस
bring in
हिसाब से
PKD. मैं समझ
इस
गई.
फिल्म ने रिवाइव कर दिया है उस इंडस्ट्री को, उस दर्शक को।
The idea of the movie as an outing has been revived in a sense culturally. I think that's what Ajay is saying. PKD, you are among those who believe and who have tweeted that the film industry needs to take a warning about popular sentiment. And that is the real lesson from all these boycott calls. But Akash raises a very good point. If the film had flopped, and with Lal Singh Chadda, we saw the discourse that the boycott demands had worked, at least domestically. There's also the idea of a diaspora audience which seems to react very differently to these movies. Now, PKD, you come from Kerala, right? Mr. Ranbir Kapoor being targeted about whether he eats beef or not X number of years. Legally, there is beef eating in several states of India, including in Kerala. When you say, oh, actors have to be mindful of dominant narrative, which and whose dominant narrative? Of Kerala? Dominant narrative of Kerala? Dominant narrative of Indians at large? Northeast? Goa? Whose narrative should they be mindful of?
Barkha, I don't. There are two ways I wanted to say. First and foremost, I have not watched the movie, so I will not be able to give any comment.
But are you boycotting?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I was traveling, and I am a movie buff. I definitely would like to go.
Okay.
And I watch movie of almost every language. One thing I wanted to tell you.
Once again, Kubbra is saying something. Kubbra, what are you saying?
No, I'm sorry, I couldn't hold myself. It's like he said, I'm a movie buff, and the buff, the word, got me laughing.
Oh, be careful the jokes you make and the pun fully intended by Kubbra.
That's the interesting part. Now, I'll tell you that. See, today I would like to talk to you more of like as a marketeer or as a perception expert.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you that this boycott is not created by any right wing or the left wing or
that's not
the
true.
mid wing.
They
This was all created.
They even have the same words in the tweet. How can it not be the same organized? Even the language is the same. Come on.
Barkha,
come on. Even come on, I'll also say. Achha, anyway, make your point.
No, the truth is that I'll tell you, just about 6 months back, some people from Bombay has visited me, and because they wanted to market one of the movie and one of the very large production houses. We do often sometimes whenever it comes, it's commercially viable for us. They all wanted that, yeah, how can we create some kind of drama around it? How can we make this as a talking point? So this boycott may have picked up right now as a right, left, center, and etc. But this was all created by the over marketing or over pushing bad marketing strategies of these so-called Bollywood people once upon a time. This is, and secondly, and most important thing you need to understand, Bollywood is not about the Indian cinema. Indian cinema is much bigger than the Bollywood. For an example, a Tamil industry or a Telugu industry today is bigger than the Bollywood. So, but we have created a perception because typically speaking, that if the Tamilians will say that, oh no, it's a Hindi bhasha ko hame push kar rahe. But the truth is that over marketing, over pushing, and over stardom. This and
what is over stardom? Is there such a thing as over stardom? Basically, you're saying anyone who seems like a big star, usko thoda khincho niche. Let's pull down someone who's doing really well.
That's what I'm saying. You see the stardom of Rajinikanth. I don't know whether any of these people can even match that stardom, and that is something which I call it like the real stardom. Maybe even a Kamal Hassan. Or the people like a Prem Nasir or an NTR or Rajkot. So what I'm saying is that this is all predominantly an over marketing. What these people have been practicing for some time, and one of the biggest mistakes these people make is that maybe, like for an example, you remember the Deepika Padukone during one of her movies, she went to the JNU. So sometimes what happened, they go overboard. Maybe because of they feel that in the social media can give them so much of a hype, and which will translate into a business. If that was the case, for an example, because why I don't agree with you completely related to the boycott, Akshay Kumar is supposed to be the right wing's fanboy, right? He's the somebody who's very considered to be close.
Yeah.
All his movies, including even the Home Minister proposed and appreciated the movie Prithviraj Chauhan. What happened is tanked. And I would say that movie was an injustice to the character Prithviraj Chauhan. Same is with his Raksha Bandhan or the other movies.
That's
one thing I can tell you as a marketeer: if you have a good product, if you package that product in a very good way, it has got an emotion targeting the Indian consumer, because Indian consumer overall across any board, including your media, is all about emotion. If you are able to package it well, you don't require a VFX, you don't require anything else, then boycotts will
Tanuj
not
wanting to come in.
work.
Tanuj wanting to come in. Then
no boycott will work.
Tanuj, briefly. Yeah, Tanuj.
My point is, whilst I'm all for sensitivity and, for filmmakers, sort of understanding the national ethos, etc., but I think it would be a bit unfair, for filmmakers, actors, anybody in the value system of the film industry to start behaving in such an overtly precautious manner and sort of just, watching their steps at every stage, because I think we're living in a democracy, right? And I think everyone needs to have a certain sense of humor. I'm not for a minute saying be insensitive. I'm not for a minute saying, sort of be fashionable and sort of, knock what is not meant to be knocked. But I think this over-sensitization, this whole trend of taking umbrage, to really the smallest of things, is sort of, I think it's really unfair on actors, because who are the soft punching bags, who they're popular, the larger than life, so they sort of get victimized at the drop of a hat. Whereas, let's say an environmentalist or some corporate entrepreneur or a pharmacist were to do it, nobody would really care.
You actually tried the hub of the debate. PKD, just once again, Akash briefly, then PKD, then Kubbra and Ajay, because are they a soft target? There's a reverse way of making the same argument, Tarun, which is that Akash Banerjee, as a one-person army of his channel Deshbhakt, takes on these trolls, possible legal cases, possible threats every day. He doesn't have the wealth of the movie stars, the movie producers. He doesn't have the battery of lawyers. He does it. I do it. Some of us do it. We don't have that money, that power, and yet we are taking more risks. So who's the soft target, Akash?
So the only vicarious pleasure I take when a Bollywood star who's kowtowing to the powers that be doesn't do well, the vicarious pleasure I take is, at least when I disappear suddenly or my channel disappears suddenly, I won't have a voice. But look, you tried everything. You were considerate to the political class. You were considerate to the system. You were so careful in your tweets. You stopped joking about things, and yet your movie flopped. So it's, the irony is, while the actors have to be considerate towards what is happening, which is unfortunately what PKD was saying is a harsh reality, whether it's ethical or not, but that is exactly what is happening. But if you look at not only Akshay, but if you look at Kangana Ranaut, who technically, if you do the reverse of this whole boycott culture, her movies are the ones that should be doing the best, and she's the biggest flop story around. So let's get one thing clear, that as Tanuj was saying, 5-10% maybe because of your boycott business, but otherwise it is what you package, what you deliver, what is your quality of content. Otherwise all your kowtowing with the system is going to land you in the same soup. So that being that,
that's
also
go ahead.
And very, very, very quickly, I just wanted to mention that the debate that is happening today, I mean, I'm still saying that look at the dialogue. There are memes and there is content that is being created, that what was Alia's dialogue in Brahmastra? It was Shiva kaise ho? Shiva tumhe kuch hua to nahi? Shiva tumhara haath. That's it. So I do not have one memorable dialogue to walk out from. So let us punch holes into movies and help them be better. But saying that I have to be considerate to a system and therefore my career would be better while it is happening, but it's not going to save people.
And that's a very good point. And therefore, Kubbra, before PKD and Ajay ji, and you made a joke. It was a play on a word. PKD said, I'm a movie buff. You said, ha, 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 buff, right? Now, do you think, before you make that joke today, you, Kubbra, said, do you think...
See, I didn't think about it, right, when I'm on this show, but I think if I do have a moment by myself with my device, which is like the root of all evil today, then I would think twice. And I'm not even kidding you. Akash has called me and told me, watch out. What do you do sometimes? Like, we are having conversations in small rooms where we are like, oh my God, like, why do we need to say anything? If we do say anything, imagine we're not feeling brave anymore. We're not feeling confident with our own words anymore. We're literally like, you know what? If we say anything, we won't get a job to do. Literally, just allow us to work. Okay, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do, what do I have to do? Keep shut?
Have you been told that sometimes by well-wishers? Keep shut,
yes, my producers have told me. And again, I take candor, I take humor before I tweet something, right? Like, but that's my way of putting it out there. I use humor as a crutch, but I know some people, and sometimes, humor dilutes the real issue as well. But I'm okay diluting the issue rather than trying to take the issue, head on, because I don't have the courage to do that, man. I don't. I'm a very, very small cog in this very, very big wheel. So
yeah,
PKD, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. No, complete your point, Kubbra. You're okay.
I'm okay not doing it, but I mean, I feel like it is harsh to silence everybody and then emerge as like almighty powerful and be like, you know what, we made her do that. There's no difference between, a democracy and, I don't know, like, just a very like cumbersome parent to have. It's like
well, a cumbersome parent is not a bully. PKD, I put it to you that what you call being considerate of feelings is another version of you need to listen to me or else, because that is what a boycott is. And by the way, I am not a fan of the cancel culture of the left. You know this either. I'm not a fan of it. I do not like any kind of intellectual bullying or an attempt by a large number of people to make an individual lose their individualism. It is claustrophobic, right? Akash, you're saying something? Hang on.
That is, just one line. That is why the cancel culture and the left have become a joke. Is because they tried to do the same thing. It is our way. And that's why they were reduced to a joke.
Absolutely. PKD, but you're being a bully too. You, when you support these hashtags, I mean, not you, PKD. If you support these online lynch mobs, people will, to varying degree, will be able to take it or not. Now, Alia and Ranbir and Ayan went to a mandir. They were Bajrang Dal affiliated people who shouted slogans, didn't let them enter the mandir. Their life will not qualitatively change, but it will have some other impact. Yeah, next time, ye ugliness nahi chahiye. Chupi betho. This chupi betho attitude is bad for our democracy. Mr.
You know what
Nambiar.
is the, you know, in as a again, once again, I'm saying this again and again, because as a marketeer, not as a political person, the reason being, these are over marketing. So you need to look
What
at
is
that.
it? What is this word over marketing?
Can I just explain you technically so that you understand it?
1 minute.
I
Cobra is
just
saying
wanted to
something.
make
Cobra,
let's
Cobra,
not forget about
unmute Cobra. Cobra is saying something to you. Cobra?
I said, how is it marketing if I want to take the blessings of God? Aren't we united in the front of God? I mean, if I want to go and say thank you to God or ask for their blessings before my film releases, how does India unify to like not allow me into God's home? It's
Okay.
outstanding. It is.
Okay, let him speak now.
I
Let him
don't
speak
know.
now.
no, I can give a free advice if you wanted to hear it, or if not, there
Yeah,
is
yeah.
no problem.
Please.
Generally,
No,
I
free
charge
advice.
for. Generally I charge for it. Today I'm giving it to free of
Okay,
cost.
okay,
I'll
let's
tell
hear.
you what
Yeah.
is that over marketing means is simply this. A brand is always known to be in consistent value, quality, communication, and everything. One of the biggest mistake most of the so-called the celebrities do, they remember everything. They talk about the Pakistan India relation, love, aman, shanti, all these words, and going to the temple, like politicians go to the temples and do all this drama when during the election. Same is what these people do. What you need to do as a solid brand, which Amitabh Bachchan did it, which the great Raj Kapoor did it, which the great Devanand did it, even the great the Raj Kapoor in the south did it. So what we need to do is that there has to be a consistent communication from these people. Once in a while, when the movies comes up, they will have all the opinion of the world all
I
across. They
hear
will
what you're
talk about
saying.
any.
You're saying when it
May
starts
I just
looking like a
complete once?
PR moment. No, I'm asking you only. You're basically saying,
That's
yeah.
precisely I'm saying. It's a wrong PR. If
Yeah.
you are if you are an actor, then you stick to the act. You are acting. Your story will speak. You don't have to go to the temple and say that, okay, if going to a temple is a private affair, you don't have to make it as a public affair. The moment you use that, as I said, that the Deepika Padukone going to JNU was that, but she as an individual consistently before and after, if she is going, I would say it is the right message.
I
That is called
actually
the
agree
right
with you.
branding.
I
But
actually agree with you on the last
so
point.
in the south of India, for an example, just to give you an example, have you even heard of Rajinikanth doing a promotion for his movie? You don't have to. Have you even heard of Kamal Hassan, now Vikram? He's one of the movie. Politically, he was thrashed by the people. The Vikram as a movie, I watched it. I have been a great fan of him as a kid. But it is superbly done.
Okay.
Because of the story.
I have to go to
Politically,
Ajay
he
and
was
last
dethroned
comments.
by the people. But as a story, as a movie, his art worked very well. If you are confident about your art, if you are confident about your product, if you are confident about what you stand for, there is nothing can defeat you.
I want to pick up your last
boycott.
point. Ajay ji's been waiting, and then literally last comments for anyone who wants to make them. Ajay ji, last point ye jo tha PR ka. Deepika Padukone goes to JNU. PKD is right about one thing. Had she gone back to JNU after that film in any capacity, or continue to engage with issues regarding students and protests, maybe today those who were championing her at that moment would have had a stronger argument. वो movie आई, उनका visit हुआ, वो movie गई, खत्म हो गया. Very different, for example, from actors in the West who have the freedom to take very active political positions on issues of climate change, even on which party they like, whether they hate Trump, whether they back a Joe Biden. तो यहाँ पर आप बताइए, ये फ्यूचर ऑफ मूवीज एंड मूवी स्टार्स के बारे में जो डिबेट होती रहती है, आप उसको किस नजरिए से देखते हैं?
नहीं, देखिए, जो हमारे पैनलिस्ट यहाँ डिस्कस कर रहे हैं वो ऐसा कुछ मान के चल रहे हैं कि हमारी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के जो पॉपुलर स्टार है वो इंटेलेक्चुअली बहुत पढ़े लिखे और समझदार किस्म के व्यक्ति हैं. ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. और जो थिएटर के बैकग्राउंड से आए हुए कुछ एक्टर्स हैं, वो भले ही कुछ समझदारी रखते हो पॉलिटिक्स की, सोसाइटी की एंड बाकी सारी इश्यूज पर, तो वो हमेशा, जैसे एक सुशांत सिंह नाम के एक्टर है, शायद आप लोग जानते हो,
जी जी,
वे हमेशा पॉलिटिकल स्टैंड लेकर के आते हैं, लेकिन वो बहुत पॉपुलर एक्टर नहीं है. अगर हम उम्मीद कर रहे हैं कि जो सो कॉल्ड पॉपुलर और बड़े एक्टर हैं वो कुछ इंटेलेक्चुअली कुछ ऐसी बातें करेंगे जो सोसाइटी के हित में हो, तो हम किसी गलतफहमी में है, बहुत बड़ी गलतफहमी में है। रही बात ये मंदिरों और ओवर मार्केटिंग और ये सारी चीजें, तो ये सदियों से चला आ रहा है हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में। हर मुहूर्त में नारियल फोड़ा जाता है, चाहे वो मुस्लिम प्रोड्यूसर हो चाहे वो हिंदू प्रोड्यूसर हो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है। और मंदिर, तिरुपति, अजमेर, गोल्डन टेम्पल, अब बनारस के घाट, ये और यहाँ सिद्धि विनायक, ये जाते ही जाते हैं। इतना अंधविश्वास फैला हुआ है इंडस्ट्री में कि अगर एक पेड़ के आसपास गाना गाने से फिल्म हिट हो गई है तो वो डायरेक्टर उसी पेड़ के पास जाके फिर से गाना गाता है।
ये कौन सा पेड़ है वैसे?
और ऐसा कहते हैं कि इंडस्ट्री में कि जो फिल्म हिट हो गई है उसी फिल्म से कुर्सी मंगवाओ और बाकी टेबल मंगवाओ और टेंट मंगवाओ उसी फिल्म यूनिट का, वही लाइट मंगवाओ तो हमारी फिल्म भी हिट हो जाएगी।
अच्छा,
तो जहां ऐसा अंधविश्वास हो वहां पे किसी बड़े इंटेलेक्चुअल उम्मीद रखना बहुत ही मुश्किल काम है। हाँ, लेकिन इसी में कुछ लोग बेहतरीन काम कर रहे होते हैं, कुछ लोग अच्छा काम कर रहे होते हैं। हमारे पास मैं तो कहूंगा कि पिछले 20 सालों में जो भी इंडस्ट्री में बाहर से आया है, कहने का मतलब सो कॉल्ड स्मॉल टाउन से, उन्होंने ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूट किया है हिंदी फिल्म इंडस्ट्री के अंदर
जी। वेल, आई थिंक यू आर मेकिंग एक्सीलेंट पॉइंट्स
जो इंडस्ट्री के लोग हैं उनसे। तो ये बहुत बढ़िया डिबेट है और इस पर बातें हो सकती है।
जी जी जी, बहुत अच्छी बात आपने ये रखी कि ये एक्सपेक्टेशन ही, ये उम्मीद ही एक तरह से मिसप्लेस्ड है। आई एम आउट ऑफ टाइम, एनीवन वांट्स टू कम इन विद अ क्विक लास्ट थॉट? या पीकेडी
वेरी क्विकली। मैं सिर्फ कुछ दिन पहले की बात है, एक ओटीटी में वन ऑफ द वेरी सक्सेसफुल प्रोग्राम इन टुडेज डेट, I will not name them, they came to us and they said that यार हमारे पास मार्केटिंग बजट बहुत कम है, कुछ ऐसे कुछ आइडिया बताओ कि जिससे एकदम फायर हो जाए, वायरल हो जाए। So the problem is not about anything else. It's all about the money what you put in. You wanted to have it immediately back. On the problem is that in this process, it's all becoming like as a business. Art becomes a very big. I would call that we are not getting any importance to the art. Movies in India has always been an art, but today it is now people started talking about it as an industry, as a business.
It is a business also.
And I'll tell you, I'll just give you one more example. Couple of months ago, I went to in Gurgaon, one of the large corporate, and the CEO came out and told me that, Nambiar, do you know that the whole floor is half the salary of me? So the problem is that even in the cinema, there is a one section of the people command and take almost 80% of the wealth. The 20% is distributed, and you and me, fortunately or unfortunately, fall into the trap of that to the 80,
Okay,
benefit that 80%.
I have to close. Akash, did you want to have a last word? Akash, can we unmute Akash?
Yeah, just a quick one. I completely agree on the division of the money. I do not see why Ranbir Kapoor should be getting 30 crores in a movie like Brahmastra. And I said this in my episode also. If I ask you to name me actors of Star Wars, actors in Avatar, you won't be able to name me the heroes because these movies are built on the stories and the VFX. So maybe in the future, Brahmastra, you would not have 60 crore budget. You would have 260 crores of budget, and maybe you will give the actors maybe 5 or 10, and maybe they can live with that. So that. And just a very quick one on what Sir was saying, we are not expecting intellectualism from Bollywood stars. We are expecting Amitabh Bachchan to continue to joke about petrol prices. That when something goes wrong, to ek retweet jo pehle aata tha, that comes. That is the only expectation. Intellectualism, unlike Hollywood, would be a long shot.
Okay, leaving it there. I haven't seen the movie, but I think what the point that Akash made is movies should be debated around the quality of the movies, the acting, the storytelling. They cannot be debated around, oh, this person is too arrogant, let's pull them down a few notches. Oh, this person said this about what they eat, let's show them. Because what actually results in one sort of arrogance, if you call it that, trying to be deflated by another sort of arrogance, and that's really achieving nothing. It's a zero-sum game for creativity. Leaving it there, Tanuj, Akash, Kubbra, PKD, and Ajay, thank you. And I want to say see you at the movies. So see you at the movies. Thank you and take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.